Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Jeff Ostrowski. I'm the president of Corpus Christi Watershed. In this video, I'm going to take you through these 25 points, these 25 free internet resources for sacred music. You have to understand, though, that originally this was a presentation that I gave before a live audience. So I'm not exactly sure how it will work as a video, and I suspect that having gone through it on the video over time, I will go in and I will correct the website to make it easier for people who are not watching the video, because I don't think most people watch the video. I think they'll probably just scroll down and skip the video. So try to do the best you can with it, bearing in mind that originally this was a presentation that I gave before a live audience. If you are in my shoes or my experience and you're trying to adapt it now for video, I think you will agree that it's sometimes a little bit more difficult than one might think. And again, I'm not going to draw all the differences, but for example, I mean, if we were doing a live presentation, of course I had introduction, I had introductory music, introductory things, we said a prayer, etc. So because this is not a live audience, let us begin by going right to point number 1. As you can see here, free online movies about sacred music. You see the website links, URL number 1, URL number 2. Again, if this were a live presentation, I would click on this excerpt by Dr. William Mart, and I would watch maybe a minute of this presentation. And of course, I'm not going to do that on the video, but if I were, basically it would look something like this. Click on it and the video pops up. And of course, I would probably make it full screen as well.
So, he didn't really, he only had a kind of an aesthetic appreciation for it. And that's not bad. It might, in fact, sometime lead him to stick his nose in church and find out what it's about.
So again, if it were a live presentation, I would watch approximately a minute or two, because Dr. Mart actually says some really amazing things at that section of the video. And of course, the video is a 60-minute video, and so of course I would hope that everyone would watch the entire video from beginning to end. And these other links, in addition to the 60-minute video, there are some other wonderful videos at those links, and I hope that you'll consider watching them for yourselves or sharing them with other people that don't know much about sacred music or would like to learn more about sacred music. So I think that's all I have to say about point number 1. Let's go on to point number 2. Point number 2 is basically a URL that you can click on, and it'll take you to another site that has some concise quotes from the church documents about sacred music. And it's sometimes nice to have a URL, a handy little URL that has some of those quotes. Needless to say, there are many more quotes about Gregorian chant and polyphony and organ music that could have been included. I think perhaps the most important for this talk is that quote from 1963, which I went ahead and copied here. You know, the Church acknowledges Gregorian chant especially suited to the Roman liturgy. Therefore, other things being equal, it should be given first place in liturgical services. And I also thought it was important to the talk that I have this quote from 2003, where Pope John Paul II takes as his own the general rule formulated by St. Pius X. And what is that rule? It's the rule that says, the more closely a composition for church approaches in its movement, inspiration, and savor the Gregorian melodic form, the more sacred and liturgical it becomes. And the more out of harmony it is with that supreme model, the less worthy it is of the temple. And so basically, I quoted these to say it's one thing to read about church legislation, but the problem is, what if you don't know anything about Gregorian chant, or what if no one's ever taught you anything about Gregorian chant, or maybe you know someone else who doesn't know anything about Gregorian chant, doesn't know how to read it, doesn't know how to sing it, doesn't know what it is, hasn't experienced it, etc. So that's what the rest of this talk is kind of about, resources to make that easier. And during the live presentation, I made the point that if you can raise a family in today's day and age, which is a very difficult thing to do, you can handle Gregorian chant and sacred music. The same thing with these people, that it's amazing what people can do with computer programs and technology and other things. Those are all very difficult things. Gregorian chant is not difficult in the way that those are. But obviously what we've tried to do is provide free resources to make it even easier for people to learn. Okay? I think that's all I have to say about point number 2. Point number 3, zoom in here to point number 3, it's a URL that teaches one how to read Gregorian chant. And some people like to know the theory behind how to read Gregorian chant. For myself, I would suggest to you that the easier way to learn how to read Gregorian chant is to take advantage of the thousands of videos that we've put online. And actually, I just noticed that says 100+ videos. That should say 1,000+ videos that have the music scrolling by as the scores are sung. In other words, you just kind of sit back and watch the music being sung by Trior Monastery or Salem or anyone else, and you learn how to sing it by doing that. But again, if you insist upon learning the theory, you can click on that URL, and here are some lessons that might help you. And they have as well. They have examples and sung examples, as you can see. What's kind of neat about this also, at the bottom here, you have some extremely rare Gregorian chant recordings from 1904, 1903, which might be interesting for you to explore. So that's number 3. Number 4, during the talk, I mentioned the Vatican II hymnal. I'll zoom in here to the Vatican II hymnal, because it kind of unifies the rest of these 25 points. It can be confusing with all the different Mass settings, Mass propers, readings, hymns, Kyriale, training videos, and so on. And so having a Vatican II hymnal in your hand makes it easier to understand all those different resources. And so that's why I mentioned that one there. And of course you can click on the link, just as always, and learn more about the Vatican II hymnal. There's really a lot on this website. There's really a lot there. So that's all I have to say about number 4. Number 5, free online hymns. People don't realize that for 2 years now, if you click the link, you see we've had all these hymns available. 100% of the hymns in the Vatican II hymnal are available online in 3 different formats. You see all these hymns? For example, one format is at the top here. If I zoom in here, you should be able to see it. Hymns. We're on the organist. That's why it's grayed out, because we're on the organist. So these are all formatted for the organist. As you can see, the score, the staves, are very close together. The words are on top because that's for the organist. But again, if you click on hymns SATB, 100% of the same hymns are given, except in an SATB format, where the words are in the center instead of on top like the organist. And the third format being the cantor format. And this is the only one of all the sections. We haven't quite finished this section. What this does is it makes it easier for organists who are also serving as the cantor. So in other words, it has the organ music but only one line between, and that is very useful to cantors. So that's something you really want to check out. And what number was that here? That was free online hymns number 5. So we're going to go on to number 6 here. I'm just going to take a drink of water. Mass settings using the new translation, as you can see, is number 6. So, when you click on the URL, you get all these different Mass settings by myself, Bruce Ford, Richard Rice, Father Samuel Weber, Aristotle, Esguerra, just all these different Masses. Not only the ones that occur in the Vatican II hymnal, which of course we also have the Gregorian Masses, Masses by Kevin Allen, Linda Sims, and others. Those are all there, but also at the very bottom, if you scroll all the way down, past all these different things, you get even more Masses at the very bottom by other distinguished composers. Now, if this were a live presentation, I took people through, for example, I would click on some of the practice videos to show them that the practice videos are all here. For example, Mass in honor of Saint Anne Line, zoom in, and I would click on the practice videos and show them that they can listen to people singing these Masses. Here's an example.
Holy, holy, holy Lord God of hosts.
And so forth. I would take them through those different things if this were a live audience, and I would also show them, for example, this Mass of St. Ralph Sherwin, which is a very popular Mass that's been downloaded thousands of times. And by the way, all these Masses are approved by the USCCB Secretariat for Divine Worship for liturgical use in the United States of America. But it's a very popular Mass, and it's been actually mandated in some dioceses as one of the only Masses they can use for the very first year of the new translation. But also, if this were a live presentation, I would show you this polyphonic version or SATB version by Matthew Curtis, which is definitely worth a look. So I hope, under number 6, I hope you'll click on that, and I hope you'll give that a listen. It was actually recorded by only one person, Matthew J. Curtis, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Now, number 7, free responsorial psalms. Basically, it's kind of hard for people to understand this, and that's why I say seeing is believing, that we would offer so many thousands of scores. So, for instance, if you click on the St. Noel Chabanel responsorial psalms, these are all the psalms that you can download. There's thousands. So, for instance, the Sunday that's coming up is the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. I hope you can see Year B. I hope you can see that on the video. And you just click on the 21st Sunday, and these are all the different options that you can choose from. And for the ones found in the Vatican II hymnal, we always, in addition to the vocalist and the Gregorian congregational and the modern congregational versions, we also give, and of course the organist, we also give a video recording. So I hope that you will explore that, and I hope you'll click on the video recording and see what that sounds like. Here's just 5 seconds of it.
Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord.
And it goes on, and it goes through all the verses. And I wanted to say this was also, it's nice because at the same weekend I'm giving this presentation, this is the exact psalm for this Sunday that's being sung in St. Peter's in the Vatican. So that was kind of nice. But by the way, as you go on and you see,
I will bless the Lord at all times.
you see that we always write out each and every verse. Oh, sorry, hold on a second. You can see that we write out each and every verse. We don't stack verses. We don't do double quote-unquote double duty on our verses. It's always one verse only. Sorry, I don't know why that keeps playing. Always one verse. And what am I talking about saying one verse? Well, we avoid things like this, for instance. What most companies do is they stack up the verses like this, and it's very difficult to read, and it's very difficult to sing that well. And so it's been a lot of work for us to make sure that only one verse happens per line of organ music or cantor score. As a matter of fact, it's been an incredible amount of work, but we just cannot bring ourselves to give our singers music that looks like this. So again, it's been a lot of work, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to give people music that looks like this. By the way, this music is so much faster to write it that way, but it's just not helpful for the singers. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of explanation of number 7 there, free responsorial psalms. I hope you'll check that out, and I hope you'll explore that. Very similar is the free gospel acclamations, number 8. If you click on the URL, it takes you to a site where we have all these different options for the gospel acclamation. And if you look at the previous months, we just provide so many different options for each and every Sunday. I hope that this is coming through on the video. There's just so many that we provide. And again, they're always written out with only one verse per line. And it takes a lot of work, but it just really pays dividends in terms of, the organist and the singers really appreciate it, and it makes it so much easier for them to sing well. So I hope you'll check out number 8, which has thousands of gospel acclamations. Let me take a drink of water. Now number 9, Church Music Association of America resources. These are so vast that I'm not going to be able to treat them in this video. But there are some links that you can definitely explore in terms of the thousands of pages they give away for free with the PDFs, and they give away wonderful literature in terms of versions of Cecilia and Gregorian Review and many other publications, all of them 100% free online. It's fascinating. It's just amazing. And the archives, of course, of Sacred Music Journal. So it's too vast to describe, but perhaps maybe the most notable of all are the fact that CMA put online the entire Liber Usualis, high-resolution scans, Graduale Romanum, high-resolution scans, and later on in the talk we'll talk about the 1957 Salem book, Mass and Vespers. Maybe those are the greatest of all the resources, but again, you're just going to have to check them out and look at them. And number 10, let's talk about number 10. Number 10 talks about a PDF that you can download for free that CMA made available. And as you can see later on, I brag down here. I brag that in 2008 I claimed that this book was the greatest gift to the church, and I still stand by that comment. It's amazing. And what is this all about? This number 10, Father Matthew Britt. Well, basically what it is it gives literal translations as well as poetic translations of all the hymns of the Catholic Breviary. So, for instance, you can look at, for example, Good Friday, and you can read, for instance, the beautiful reproaches of Good Friday. Okay? For instance, when Christ is speaking to us, O my people, what have I done unto thee? Or in what have I offended thee? Answer me. I led thee out of Egypt, having drowned Pharaoh in the Red Sea. And thou hast delivered me up to the chief priests. O my people, etc. You repeat that. The whole thing is just, it's just unbelievable when you read it. What more could I have done for thee and did not do? I planted thee to be of all my vineyards the most beautiful, yet exceedingly bitter hast thou been to me. For I was athirst, and thou didst give me vinegar to drink, and with a spear thou didst pierce thy Saviour's side. But it goes on and on and on. I opened up the sea before thee, and thou hast opened up my side with a lance. I went before thee in a pillar of cloud, and thou hast brought me to the court of Pilate. I fed thee with manna through the desert, and thou hast smitten me with heavy blows, and hast scourged me. I gave thee wholesome water to drink out of the rock, and thou hast brought me gall and vinegar in my thirst. For thy sake I struck down the kings of Canaan, and thou hast struck me on the head with a reed. Excuse me for a second. I gave thee a royal scepter, and thou hast given my head a crown of thorns. With great power I lifted thee up, and thou hast hung me upon the gibbet of the cross. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And again, it's so important because Father Britt gives you translations, literal translations, to what these prayers really mean. For instance, with the Dies Irae, we were looking at that, and you have these unbelievable verses. For instance, quid sum miser tunc dicturus, quem patronum rogaturus, cum vix justus sit securus. So what does that really mean? Father Britt tells us, what shall I, wretched, then say? Whom shall I invoke as protector, when even the just shall hardly be secure? So just incredibly powerful verses. And again, some people look at the Father Britt and they say, well, I only see poetic versions. What do you mean there's also literal translations? Well, he puts the poetic versions first, and then after that he gives the literal translation. So don't be fooled by that. I go in here a little bit, I continue to talk about the fact that basically, hey, let me zoom in here to number 10. Basically, the literal translations really give you the beauty of these Latin prayers, these ancient prayers. These are going back to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th century, 7th century. They're unbelievable. And there's something just tremendous that he gives us the literal. For example, with this Aurora Caelum hymn, for instance, you know, the rhyming version, the morn had spread her crimson rays, when rang the skies with shouts of praise. Earth joined the joyful hymn to swell, that brought despair to vanquished hell. With that, there's this, kind of a struggle to put it into rhyming verse, Whereas Father Britt also gives the literal. The dawn is purpling the sky. The air resounds with hymns of praise. The exulting earth shouts for joy. Trembling hell rages. The beauty is really contained in the literal, because you're never going to make it work. And we talked about that. We went through some other examples in the live presentation. I give another example from the same hymn a little bit lower. And Father Britt also explains all the scriptural references for the prayers and hymns and breviary things. But in particular, I give a link here to Eucharistica, which talks about the fact that the Catholic authors were so careful not to change the theology of the prayers. Sometimes they would use bad rhymes, what was considered bad rhymes, inferior rhymes, because they were afraid to change that theology inside these hymns. So basically, perhaps I'm repeating myself, but I just cannot recommend Father Britt's book highly enough, because it really allows us to penetrate the meaning of these unbelievable Catholic prayers and hymns. Now, number 11, I'm going to take a drink. Number 11 is the Simple English Propers. You can click on the link there and download them for free as well. Basically, this is a very important book because it allows Catholic parishes to begin singing the propers again. And our beautiful Catholic heritage goes back centuries and centuries. And we will look at this below with the manuscripts we're going to look at a little bit later. Using the Simple English Propers enables your congregation to once again pray these amazing prayers. The congregation can follow along if they have the Vatican II hymnal, which is currently the only pew book containing the complete Mass propers. And I think it's very important. We talked about this with a live audience. I think it's very important that the people know what your choir is singing, and they know, well, that's That's why the Vatican II hymnal is so helpful. And I think the audience really was amazed when I was opening up and showing them how complete it is. It has all 3 liturgical years and all the prayers, all the propers, all the psalms, all the readings, all the alleluias, introits, graduals, offertories, excuse me, etc. I'm going to take a drink. Now, Corpus Christi Watershed has recorded practice videos for all the Simple English propers. Later on in this talk, we'll talk about the daily liturgy, where you can find these videos. And I gave some examples to the live audience of really how beautiful these compositions are. And the Nativity of St. John the Baptist introit, I gave it for 2 reasons. Number one, to show that sometimes I was singing these very slowly, in the sense to help people learn them. I had to remind myself to just slow down a little bit because they're training videos. But also the graduale text, the introit for Nativity of St. John the Baptist is really beautiful. It talks about his tongue being a sharp sword, and of course his tongue got him killed because he was talking about the man's wife, and he didn't like that, so he cut off John the Baptist's head. But anyway, the prayers are very rich, and I can't recommend the Simple English propers highly enough. So of course, check those out and see some of the sample videos. I'm not gonna double video. In other words, playing the video here
From my mother's womb.
is called double video because I'm making a video and then you're watching a video on the video. So I hope you'll explore those on your own. Now, number 12, the Church Music Association of America Forum. Excuse me. This is another thing that's very important. I was amazed that in the audience, not that many people were members of it. It's so helpful. It's free, and it takes 5 seconds to sign up. You just punch in your email address and your name, and you're already on there, and you can ask questions, and within a second, people will start responding to you, and sometimes the questions can be very difficult. In other words, I ask questions myself that I think surely no one can help me, but they do. At the same time, the questions can also be very quote-unquote simple. For example, if you want recommendations on an easy SATB piece to start your choir on, or something like that, the forum is also very good. So everybody needs to be a member of that forum. Every church musician does. Number 13, Gregorio basically is this free program. Richard Chonok designed this interface that helps you instantly make beautiful chant like this. You can just start making it. It's within seconds you're producing this beautiful, beautiful Gregorian chant. And if you want to make scores like that, you can click on the URL, of course, which takes you to the interface. But if you don't really know how to use this interface, you don't understand some of the code that you have to put in, even after you look at these little resources here, and you still, you look at these resources like this one-page summary, and you just don't understand what they mean. You don't understand how to make these code. That's when you ask the forum, and within seconds they're going to tell you how to do it. They're going to tell you some of the pitfalls and some of the things you have to be careful of. They'll even send you pretty much the entire Liber Usualis in a GABC code. So don't be discouraged when you click on the link and you're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make this code. Because the forum will tell you how to do it. It's really amazing, and it's so easy. I wish I'd done it years ago. I wish I had started doing it years ago because it's so easy. Number 14, Polyphony of Thomas Luis de Victoria. Of course, sometimes he spelled his name Vitoria, but Victoria is maybe the more common way. I've been talking about this site for years. My friend Nancho did it something like 12 years ago. He put up the entire scores for Victoria. However, you have to know that partituras in Spanish is what means scores. You see, if you don't know that partituras means scores, see the partituras, then you won't be able to find the scores of of Victoria, and they're right here. They're unbelievable. Look at how many there are. It's amazing what he did with these. You won't be able to find them because you don't realize that partituras means scores. But once you realize that, you're given access to everything he ever wrote. It's unbelievable. And I just don't know why more people don't use this site. I mean, it's been around for so long, and I talked a little bit about sometimes you have to kind of arrange them. In other words, sometimes your priest won't let you do a 15-minute or 16-minute piece, so sometimes you have to take little parts out, like I did for our cathedral, and use the beautiful little sections and put them in a key that's good for your choir. But it's an amazing site. I also gave a small example of what one of my 10th grade students did. She took a recorder into her room and she recorded all the parts of one of the scores from the Victoria site, and it's amazing that she was able, the resulting recording was amazing that she was able to create. So maybe you'll give that a listen, and I think you'll be impressed with what she was able to do. And she's not a music major, I mean, she's just a very very normal kid, but she was able to do it because of what Nancho did with those scores. So number 15, I'm not going to read all what I wrote about number 15 on this video because I think it's going to make the video too long. But I hope that you'll read everything I wrote, and I hope that you'll become familiar with this unbelievable recording artist. Matthew J. Curtis is just remarkable. And I gave an example. I mean, he's put up thousands of videos. Many of them are free. But I just gave an example of the Bible Ave Maria that he recorded to kind of show you the kind of stuff he's capable of. He's just unbelievable. There's no question about it. Number 16, the St. Antoine Daniel Kyriale. If we were in the live audience, I would have you sing in answer to me. I make up some nonsense things like, I don't know what I made up. All the masses are available. And then they repeat that. All the masses are available on St. Antoine Daniel Kyriale. And then they repeat that. On St. Antoine Daniel Kyriale. Now, why would I do something crazy like that? The reason is because people don't realize that all the masses are available on this website. It's been here for years. They still don't get it. I don't care what mass you're looking for. All of them are here. There's Gregorian chant, there's organ accompaniments, there's scores, MP3s, YouTube videos. It's really a remarkable site. So I hope that you'll check out number 16. Now number 17, daily liturgy resources. A couple things about this. If you're feeling overwhelmed in terms of everything that I've been showing you, the completed feasts, you can see that we've almost completed the entire liturgical year. As you can see, we've completed almost the entire liturgical year. This helps you kind of organize it in your mind, because when you click on the feast, you can see all these different things. You can see the complete text from each feast in Latin and English. You can see how much work each one of those takes. I mean, for every single Sunday, you can get, like, for example, the introit in video, PDF, or organ accompaniment, the Simple English Propers practice video complete score, Kyrie, Gregorian chant, polyphonic selections in English, simple settings, cantor settings, options for the chant after the first reading, which is either the responsorial psalm or the gradual, and practice videos, always practice videos, musical score, organ accompaniment, simpler versions, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And there's just so many things here. It's like I can't even describe it. I mean, even the Simple English Psalm tones, everything is here. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe start clicking on 17 and look at the different feasts that we put on the page. You have to scroll down a little bit past the video, and I think you'll find it impressive. Now, number 18, I hope that you'll read what I wrote here in the purple. Because I just cannot say enough about this wonderful composer, Kevin Allen. And so I detail some of the work that he's done with us, and I show the different URLs where Matthew Curtis has recorded hundreds and hundreds of practice videos. For instance, you look at this SATB collection. Look at all the practice videos, for example, that he recorded for this thing. Something like 144 just for one book. I hope that you can notice all these through the video. It's unbelievable what he did. 144 practice videos. So again, I hope you'll read number 18 and check it out, and I hope you'll click the little videos. For example, this excerpt is a beautiful excerpt. It's going to take a second to load. I'm not going to double video you, but I hope that you'll click on that excerpt and listen to the video. I mean, it's beautiful. What he did with that Mass is really beautiful. Number 19 is also worthy of your attention, especially what you hear with what Matthew did with Machot. I mean, he just takes you into another world, so I hope that you'll read that and click on the examples. Number 20 just has a couple of sites and PDFs by other composers that you might want to bookmark. So I hope you'll look at those. Number 21 takes you through the example of Gregorian chant manuscripts. In our day and age, you can click on any chant you want. For instance, if you want to search, for example, well, you have to know how to use the search, by the way. As you can see, on Apple you hit Apple F, whereas on Windows you would hit Control F. But you search for whatever you want, and it brings it up. For instance, if you wanted to look at the introit for Pentecost, for instance, it brings it up and it shows you all the different manuscripts where that chant exists. So, and you can even zoom in really close. You can zoom in incredibly close on these and see every little detail. So, for example, Spiritus Domini Replevit orbem terrarum, etc. But it gives all of the different examples of where that chant occurs. It's quite remarkable. Same thing. Spiritus Domini Replevit orbem terrarum, etc. So again, an amazing URL to keep track of is number 21. Number 22, we already mentioned this above as one of the most amazing gifts that CMA and Dr. Mart have given to the Church in terms of this book called Mass and Vespers, because it has English as well as Latin in there. So I hope you'll download that and check it out. It's remarkable. And be careful of the index, because with all these books, the Graduale and the Liber Usualis and Mass and Vespers, there are always numerous indices. And so you have to know which one is the right one. You want the alphabetical one that looks like this, excuse me, that shows you all of the... it's taking a second to load here. I'm not sure why it's taking a second to load. Okay, it shows you all of the introits, and it shows you all of the graduals, etc. But a lot of times if you just go to the very last index and you click on it, what it's giving you is an index to the appendix of the book. So you have to be extremely careful to make sure that you're looking at the right index. And of course you use the bookmarks, to find the index. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is don't click on the last index. Look for the alphabetical table index, because that's what you want. And by the way, I was going to show you something that I always want to show people that has these little numbers at the beginning are not page numbers, they refer to the mode of the chant. And I wanted everybody to be aware of that fact. And then I looked, because I excerpted this introit from Mass and Vespers. Unfortunately, it looks like they beat me to the punch. Do you see how they say the number placed before each line indicates the mode of each introit, gradual, etc., or the number of the psalm? So they beat me to the punch. They already anticipated what I was going to tell you. So, what are you going to do? But it's very important to realize that those are the mode numbers. So Salem is unbelievable. There's no question about it. Now, number 23 has a link to ISIL chants, the new missal chants, and these are very popular, and a lot of people have been using these videos. With all our 3,000 videos, the score scrolls by as you listen to it. So those might be something that are worthy of your consideration. Now we're almost to the end here. Number 24 is the Public Domain Choral Music, CPDL. It's an extremely slow URL. This was founded by a student of Dr. March, and if it ever comes up here, it's taking a second to come up. It's very useful to search for wonderful composers like Cristobal de Morales or some of these others. And what you have to realize is that with each of their pieces, they have these little icons, and that's why I said what to make of these little icons. It gives you different formats, okay? And usually the PDF is obviously the most useful to all of us because we all have the PDF, okay? We all have Acrobat. But a lot of times they give it to you in formats that I can't use. For example, sometimes they'll give it to you in Noteworthy Composer or something, and those are kind of worthless to me. Sometimes they give it to me in Sibelius, and I can use those files. But the best is when they give it to you in the PDF, because boom, you got it. There it is, okay? It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. So, number 25, Hymn and Hymn Tunes Explained. As I say here in the purple, for reasons I never understood, early Catholic hymnals do not include the name of the tune. And that's very confusing because, organists and Catholics have to be aware that a hymn is composed of, on one hand, a tune, on the other hand, a text. So that you can mix texts and tunes. If it's a beautiful tune that you want to use more than once so that your congregation is used to it, then you can use the same tune if it fits, because there's little numbers, of course. Well, I explain a lot of that in these two little links, so I hope you'll give them a try. I used to always be bewildered by the fact that the hymns have little numbers after them. For example, if you go up here to let's go back to our hymns for a second. I was bewildered by the fact that the hymns have numbers by them. For example, St. Anne, they always have, well, that's a common meter. Most of them have numbers. All Creatures of Our God and King, for instance. So you have this thing called, you see 8-8-4-4-8-8 with refrain. That's what tells you what tunes you can share. And I never knew how they figure those out, but it turns out all they're doing is just counting the thing. So all creatures of our God and King, you count. All creatures of our God and King. That's 8. Lift up your voice and with us sing. You go, lift up your voice and with us sing. That's 8 again. See, so that's where the 8-8 comes from, etc. So it's not rocket science, but again, the early Catholic hymnals didn't have any of that information, and I never have known why. I mean, they really should have put that in there. Now, so that's number 25. Hopefully, if I can find the time, I'll put in there about how to tell the numbers and how to share tunes, because it's very useful, because then you don't have to keep teaching your congregation new tunes all the time, although of course it can be overdone and it can be abused and it can be overused. Now I have a concluding question for your consideration. If this were a live audience, I start off by clicking this URL, which has the most beautiful polyphony by Cristobal de Morales, And it's, of course, multi-layered. It has imitation, and it has canons, and it has augmentation, diminution, etc. And I remember Dr. Martin said at the colloquium, he said, polyphonic music shows forth the splendor of the universe. And he was talking about the Vatican Council, Second Vatican Council, really encouraged it highly. Of course, Gregorian chant is always first, but polyphonic music is second. And it shows forth the splendor of the universe. And I thought that was beautiful. But the thing is that, people don't know how to listen to polyphonic music, because it has all these different melodies, and they're using imitation, as I said, augmentation, which means elongation, diminution, which means shortening it. They use it upside down, they use it backwards, and they use double canons, and they use basses, like bass lines of that are structural. In other words, and so what do you listen to? I mean, which melody do you listen to? And you listen to it for years and years, and you're still listening and hearing new things 20, 30 years later. And because I was reading the other day in preparation for my presentation, and someone was really bashing the notion of the preconciliar Mass, because the preconciliar Mass was also multi-layered. The priest was doing one thing, the choir was doing another. Just like the Eastern rites, or a lot of the Eastern rites, the deacon and the congregation are doing something completely different than the priest. And nowadays, I think it's kind of the fashion to bash that and to say that's wrong. Everybody has to be doing the same exact thing at the same exact moment. And it's amazing the way people will bash not only the preconciliar Mass, but also the Eastern rites, which are also very venerable and go back a long time. And they just bash them without any consideration or any thought that they might be incorrect. In any event, the same thing with polyphonic music struck me, and I just wondered if, in this rock music age, when our culture is, there's very little left of our culture, are we incapable of understanding multi-layered things, whether it's polyphony or whether it's the liturgy? Are we incapable of appreciating the time and space continuum? In other words, the fact that God is outside of time, and works of art and liturgy and beautiful things can be multi-layered. Can we still appreciate it? Or have we been listening to rock music and country music and very simple music so much that we can no longer appreciate such things? It's worth, I think it's a question that's worth considering. And as a closing statement here, which I don't know how many people have made it to the end of this video, but if you've made it all the way through the end of the video, I hope you'll email me and let me know. Then that would mean at least one person made it all the way through the video. When I look back through my own experiences, where I spent a lot of time teaching young Catholics, young children, teenagers, etc., I realized that God has always granted me peace. And a lot of times you hear people think, because Gregorian chant is noble, and it's not overtly, excessively emotional and gushy. But there's a lot of emotion there. And I was listening to this old recording, maybe you'll click on this, and it was a recording I made a long time ago with my brother and several others. And I just realized that God has always answered that prayer. He's always given me peace. I mean, it hasn't been easy, but anyway, it was kind of touching, and it made me realize when people claim that Gregorian chant is not emotional, it doesn't have any emotion. It's not the case. Yes, it's true that it's not gushy and it's not overly emotional, and that's all true. Okay, but there is emotion to it. There's no question about it. Now, finally here, I give a link to a new project that you might be interested in viewing. Thank you so much for listening, and if anybody made it all the way through the video, email me. I'd love to hear that you made it all the way through.